Hey, Melinda.
Hey Anna, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila.
And
I'm
sometimes
Anna
Melinda.
and sometimes Melinda. Right. So, like, follow, share on Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila. We have a Twitter, we have a YouTube, we have Podbean. What else do we have?
Instagram,
Do we have?
Facebook.
Did I not say that? Like, follow, share
I
on
don't
all
know.
the
I
all
think
the all the
all the
social
things.
medias.
Yes,
Do we have an Instagram? I think so.
I think so. I don't know.
I'm sure
I can't
Aaron's
keep up
just
with it
like,
all.
what in the world are we talking about? So, what's going on with you, Melinda? I know that we're separated still.
I know. I hate it. I don't like you being so far away. It makes me sad. But I like that I get to
No.
see you every once in a while.
I know, isn't
So
that
that's always
nice?
nice. It is.
And I just
I
realized as I'm looking here that I have like no lipstick on. So
oh
that's
I
not good.
well I ran and did a little, a
I could
little
do one really
something.
quick, I guess, but that wouldn't
So
be very
well,
tasteful.
you
So,
look lovely, so you're
well,
fine.
thank you.
You don't need it.
So, let's tell our viewers you're in Hillsborough County,
I
right?
am.
And
Yes.
I am actually in Durham County in North Carolina. And I
Well,
thought we would talk a little bit about the differences with the corona, right? The corona delta and how it's being treated up here versus down there. So
well,
let me just tell you from my perspective, because I've seen what's going on down there in Florida on the Facebook and I hear it all over the news. But generally, up here in Durham County, we have a mask mandate. So if you are in a business, if you're in a store, you're supposed to wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask right now because my door is closed. But you know what, Melinda? People are wearing the masks, and there's no protests, and there's no, oh my goodness, what about my freedom? It's just like a different world up here.
I can't.
It's like there's
You
three
must be
huge
so relieved.
yeah, it's like there's three huge universities around here with people who have a little bit of experience and maybe a little bit of schooling.
A little bit of
So
knowledge.
a little bit of
Well,
knowledge.
I will say I went out today and I had my hair straightened, so I don't have to
I
worry about my
noticed that.
crazy curls.
You're you're rocking the share right
Thank you.
now.
So
Where's Sonny? Where's he?
he's actually off in St. Petersburg getting me a really cool old lady scooter to take to Italy because my foot's all busted. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, that's another whole long story.
Well,
But
you could
that's
use
where
a
he is.
skateboard, but you'd probably
Nope,
break
I
another
would kill
leg.
myself.
Yes.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. I am not allowed. I have to sit in a scooter. So anyway,
Is it going to
he
be motorized?
it is. Yes,
Oh
I'm
my
very glad.
goodness. We could have a lot of fun with that.
Yes. Oh
Is
yeah,
it
I
going to be
know.
yours? Is it going to be yours forever or just
It
for this
is.
trip?
It's mine forever.
Oh,
So
Melinda. Oh,
I
the fun
know.
we can have.
I know. But here it is. What I was going to say when I was in the salon, everybody that came in, everybody that worked there was masked. So I do believe in some parts of Hillsborough County there are some intelligent people that are masking on their own without having to have a mandate. Um, and that made me feel really good today because I was in South Dakota a couple of weeks ago and it was a wedding for 350 people and the only people wearing masks were myself and my husband. So I was like, I'm from Florida. I don't want to kill anybody, with the
Mhm.
Delta that maybe I could or could not have. So, but anyway, I
Well,
didn't
that's
have
what
because
we do,
I
and
was
that's
tested.
you were
So
tested when.
I was tested a few weeks ago. I'm gonna get tested before I go to Italy. But yeah, and I also want to get the booster if I can. So I'm like, I don't know what these people are complaining about. I'm like, they make anything, they can stick it in me as long as it keeps me healthy. I don't want to go through that again. Mm-mm.
Oh, I could Gates play a joke on that term, on that phrase, but I
Oh yeah,
won't.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
won't. You're
I didn't even
welcome.
think of that.
Of
So, but
course I
anyway.
did, because what am I gonna do here? I'm separated from
So
everyone, so I got
I
nothing
know
but
I
time
hate
on my
that.
hands. Yeah.
But the kids that going back to school is just a huge, huge, huge mess. I think they're having a meeting, I believe, next Monday, another mask mandate meeting. I think that what I've read recently is they have over 5,000 students that have been admitted to the hospital. The hospitals are so bad that the ERs are like they're full. They're full. There's no more space for people, and people are having to
Mhm.
wait hours to be seen. So that means, like for instance, if you were in a bad car accident, you might have to wait a while to be seen in the hospital. It's horrible. So yes.
Right. So just even some other illnesses because of the overflow of the hospitals, they wouldn't be able to
Hmm.
be seen, um,
Exactly.
which is, problematic in so many respects, which is what we've been warned against, at the beginning of
Yes.
this thing. Everyone was being super careful
That
and
might have been the number of kids having to be quarantined, but I did hear there was a huge number of kids. I wish I could find it. Let me look and see if I can find it real quick.
well,
Who were being quarantined? I mean, being
admitted.
sick, admitted. Yes.
Well,
Maybe
I've also
Carly.
I've
Maybe our guest will know.
well, I've also heard that some different hospitals have not and they are unable to have any pediatric beds, and so they're being diverted to other hospitals, which is very
Mm,
dangerous. And I think we only have a limited amount of ventilators. So, you know,
yep.
I just can't believe our governor just is so much smarter than everybody else, because this is all just going to go away and it's not going to be a problem.
Well, today he was on talking about the drug that Lilly and USF, and I'm not going to remember the name that starts with the R, Regeneron or
It's the
Regeneron or
antibodies.
something. Yes,
Yes.
it's the antibodies. And he was bragging on how if you get COVID, it's like, well, dude, why can't you make a mask mandate and make even make people get vaccinated so nobody has to get COVID? That would be the good thing to do.
I bet you it's going to come out now that he has some sort of shares in that drug.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, people, the whole what happened to the electric car, all that kind of conspiracy. I don't know if that's going to come out, but I'm sure there's gotten some corporate, I don't know, but I don't mean to go down the whole urban legend conspiracy theory, but you never know.
Yep.
Anyway, with talking about urban legends and conspiracies, we have our own resident conspiracy or COVID myth debunker with us today.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce her, Melinda?
Her name is Carly Kettering, and she's a friend of mine. I've known Carly for years, and she is a clinical researcher. So she actually researches drugs and medications
You
and
mean she doesn't
works
just
with.
go on Google and just search on Google and
No,
YouTube?
no, she has
What?
a degree in microbiology and all kinds of smart stuff that I could never do in school. I was a journalism major on purpose, so I wouldn't have to do all the math and science stuff. I think I took meteorology and it was horrible.
Mm.
So the guy that did it, like he taught like this, and the class was at 3 in the afternoon. It was like torture, I tell you. So,
Well,
but anyway,
if you still remember it to this day, it must have been very
it,
memorable.
it, it was traumatizing.
We only
Yes,
remember we only remember things that hurt us.
exactly. So is Carly coming on?
Well, you have to
Where is
introduce
she?
her. I
Oh,
don't
I just
know.
did. Carly Kettering, our
There
guest.
she is.
Hi.
Yay!
Hi.
Hey, Carly.
Hi, guys.
So, did you have like a very traumatic school subject that you had to take, Carly? Because apparently
Um,
Melinda did.
yes, actually,
Meteorology.
organic chemistry was one of my worst subjects. That's kind of like the weed out class for STEM majors. So, I have nightmares about chair diagrams, which is carbon chains, but they all look like trapezoids essentially. And that's all that was in my head all through college. I don't like to dwell on it. I don't like that people talk to me about organic chemistry. I can't go back there ever again. It's done. It's over. So
What about you, Anna? Did you have any traumatizing classes?
So I had to take the college I went to. You had to take 4 PE classes, and I took this class called outdoor education, and I thought it'd be like, oh, fun, like learning how to just pitch a
You're
tent. And
outdoors.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was run by this military guy. No offense to the military, but he would make us learn how to tie knots, right? And then if the test would be where we all lined up on the side, of a fence with all these pieces of rope hanging, and he would yell out trucker's hitch, and then he would give a timer, and you had to tie it in a trucker's hitch, and he's like stop, and you had to back away, and you had to look at your knot compared to everyone else's. It was awful. It was awful. So
Well,
anyway, we
anyway,
digress.
yes.
So our resident COVID myth debunker. So Melinda, what have we
Yes.
heard around here that people truly believe?
People truly believe that children cannot get sick from COVID. Number one, I've heard that a lot.
So Carly, tell us if that's true or false.
that is 100% false. Kids can definitely get COVID. I did try to look for Hillsborough numbers, but in the state of Florida, it's something like 8% of kids that get COVID are becoming hospitalized, which is, I mean, it takes a lot. You know, to get hospitalized with COVID, your pulse ox has to be pretty low, or you have to be feeling some kind of way, you know. So that people think children just get it and it goes away. Children are so much more likely to spread it because they're the ones that are congregating in these big groups. They're going to bring it to the teacher. They're going to bring it to grandma. But children are definitely getting it. They're definitely being hospitalized, and they're definitely dying from it as well, which is unfortunate. But children are not immune to the COVID, especially with how it's mutating now. So.
Okay, so that is false. False. Okay, what's another one, Melinda?
I have heard that if you get the vaccine, that it will make you sick. And people have had all kinds of complications from getting the vaccine itself. And that's maybe some people, but I don't think that I haven't had any long lasting problems.
Well, Melinda, you're not the resident expert. So true or false?
Right.
That is true and false. You're not going to get sick with COVID from getting the vaccine. And I think the best part about that is the vaccine reporting system. There's a way you have to interpret it. People go on and they'll say, oh my gosh, someone died after they got the vaccine. But the problem with that is like when you're doing adverse event reporting, like in research, because right now they're taking running research on these vaccines, you'll get an antibody response like you do with any vaccine. Like you get the tetanus shot, your arm hurts, you feel a little tired. The COVID one is such a strong antibody response that you might get a fever. You might get like a little tired. You might get the chills. And some people do have a little bit more of a reaction. There is like a very low risk of that, antibody produced blood clotting. But that's such a small number. That's like 7 people out of 72 million people. And that can happen with anything. You know, you see all the drugs that go to market on TV, and, you know, anything can happen. Everyone's body reacts differently. And that's why they recommend people that have allergies to certain medications don't get these. And, you know, if you're at risk, you're at risk, you kind of know what you're allergic to, and people are allergic to, antibiotics. That doesn't mean antibiotics are bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I have one.
Yes.
You ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
True or false? Getting the vaccine will make you infertile.
That is very false. I got that one so much. I tell people, they said, oh my gosh, you got the Johnson & Johnson. You're not going to be able to have kids ever. You're 26 years old. What are you going to do? And I said, unfortunately, I'm still very fertile. How
do we know this? Has this been tested?
Yes. I'm still, everything's still working down there. So,
okay.
But the women's periods are changing. At first, they thought that it was attacking, like they thought that the vaccine was causing an antibody response on the uterus. They thought it was people that were pregnant. It was attacking like the placental proteins. That is not true. The reason they're theorizing that people's periods are changing after they get the vaccine is because the stress of the antibody response. Like, if you get sick, if you're not eating, if you're not drinking enough water, there's so many factors that can go in. Like you could have a stressful week at school, work, whatever, and your period can change. Mm-hmm. So that's just a hormone response. It will not make you infertile. It will not cause you to miscarry. It is. So as far as we know, it's not having an effect on reproductive health.
Okay. But that's a very good explanation, because people might be stressed out. So that might be changing.
Yeah.
It.
Okay, so, I just saw the numbers. So as of 7 a.m. Monday, 5,599 students and 316 employees in Hillsborough County are in isolation or quarantine. Isolation refers to individuals who have tested positive for COVID, while quarantine refers to those who have had close contact with a positive case. So what people don't realize is that now, since the teachers and other employees are out, they're going to have to hire subs. And we already have budget issues. And plus, what are all these kids going to do? How are they going to get caught up with all their schoolwork? So it's not as, it causes a lot of problems in a lot of other ways. But the main thing that it causes is that kids get sick. And you can have long-term health. I still am struggling from some long-term health issues from when I had COVID. And then what was the other one? Oh, I heard that only people with comorbidities are dying, are the ones that are dying. And that is not, I know.
No, that is not true either. It is kind of affecting everyone's body in such a different way. It's really producing all kinds of different symptoms we couldn't even think of. People are ending up on dialysis that have never been on dialysis. I have people are having to get lung transplants that have otherwise healthy lungs, no history of asthma. I know a girl, she was 25. She had no other comorbidities other than endometriosis. And she is now at 25 years old on a rescue inhaler. That has nothing to do with each other. And now she has to go and figure out how she's going to afford to, because she doesn't have insurance, get a rescue inhaler for the rest of her life because now she has all these like long-term lung conditions. Now they think it's having these long-term neurological conditions. People are becoming like partially paralyzed. Like it doesn't matter what you have. It's a whole different kind of machine.
And as someone who does have several other health issues, like, I've been honest and open about the issues I still have rheumatoid arthritis, I have fibromyalgia, I have diabetes, and I have asthma, and I did have COVID, and they could not believe that I responded and did so well and recovered when there was a 25-year-old in the room that I was in a few days before that died because she didn't have any pre-existing conditions. So it attacks everyone's body differently. It truly
But even
does.
so, asthma and diabetes shouldn't be a death sentence either. Like we've come so far with medicine. None of these things, like you can live with asthma until you're in your 90s, like none of these have to be a death sentence.
No. But if you get COVID, it can. I mean, that was the reason I had to go into the hospital, was because it impacted my asthma. But I was very lucky and recovered really well, and fortunately, respiratory hasn't been my issues. My issues have been fatigue and brain fog and other issues. So it hasn't been the respiratory stuff. I've just been lucky. But do I want to get it again? No, no way.
So, what are some other urban legends that you've heard, Carly? I can't think of any because I don't really hang out with that crowd normally.
The big one.
I know one is the dollar going away. I've heard that, but that's not really COVID related.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Digital. No, the biggest thing being patient facing and working with like the public is that the masks don't work. People ask me, oh, do you have to wear a mask here? Why are you wearing a mask? Well, I wear a mask because, I want to set a good example. And I also, I don't know. I'm around people all day long. I don't know what I have. I am vaccinated. I could be asymptomatic and I wouldn't know it. I want to protect other people. If I'm going to go into Publix, if I'm the only one in a mask, that's okay. Like, but the masks do work. You can find studies that are going to say, oh yeah, masks don't work. But it's like you have to look at, the kind of studies that people are doing. Masks do work. And we've seen that in like a lot of these like Asian countries that have adopted this long ago for like respiratory illnesses, because a lot of these viruses, they're not just like floating around in the air, like pollen or something. They have to like have a vessel. They have to be attached to like some kind of like sputum or something. And so to have the mask, air is escaping. But if you have something covering your nose and mouth, you are at a lower transmittal rate, like with addition, like, social distancing, all of that. But even if you just have the fabric masks, that is way better than nothing. I mean, ideally everyone, could have an N95 because that'll protect you and everyone else. But some people are wet talkers, and when you talk, as much as you think, if you're not a wet talker, stuff's flying out there. So masks do work. There's not evidence that says that they don't work. People make stuff up. People can say whatever they want online,
and they do,
but right. they do. Masks do work. And that's a big one I get all the time. I'm trying to think of another one.
What about the whole, I've heard, it was so rushed through the FDA approval, and that I think it's on tentative, or there's some kind of discussion about
one. It's emergency activation. But the difference, with the flu vaccine, they develop a new flu vaccine every year, but they have a basis. With the COVID vaccine, they've been looking at it, since the beginning of COVID, but they've also been developing vaccines like mRNA vaccines are newer. But they're not new. They looked at them for the flu. They looked at them for Zika virus. Like they've looked at them for all these like kind of big things we've had, like swine flu, I guess. And they're not new vaccines. And then they've done the animal testing. They've done them in a vacuum. And for any kind of drug to get to market, it takes right around 10 years. And because you only get one chance to present your case to the FDA. So you can go through, spend all this money on research. Your drug could be amazing. If you don't present it to the FDA correctly, or if you don't reach your endpoints, they could deny you and you have to start all over. And so there's a lot of things that have been authorized for emergency use. And like even some of the medications that I work on right now, you can still get access to these medications through the pharmaceutical companies. And they do have programs that if you're terminal, a lot of different diseases, you can get emergency access to medications, and people don't have a problem with that. And so these vaccines, I mean, they're always collecting data, but the same thing with approved drugs, they're always collecting data. So the vaccines aren't new. This technology isn't new. They authorized it because, you know, it's working. They saw that it worked in the rhesus monkeys, and they saw it worked in healthy adults. And now look how many people have gotten the vaccine, and it has so far something, it's like the Johnson & Johnson, which is like the lowest efficacy one, has like a 94% efficacy rate, which is pretty high for a vaccine. So.
Well, thank you for all this factual information, our resident expert. Melinda, is there anything else, any other crazy things that we've heard? I mean, about this? We hear crazy things all the time.
Yeah, I hear crazy things all the time. So I just heard that you don't need a doctor referral. Like if you think you need the
monoclonal antibodies,
yes, that you can just in Jacksonville and Orlando, you can just go and get it.
I don't know about that, because there's a lot of other monoclonal antibodies are kind of they're not a risky treatment. They're usually used for people that are pretty severe into their, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wouldn't they have to be in a hospital?
I mean, it would have to be overseen by a physician. You can't just go get it from like a med spa. It would be overseen by a physician. So
okay. All right.
So we'll have to think about that for our next med spa idea, Melinda.
Monoclonal antibodies.
Monoclonal antibodies available here, along with some cucumbers for your eyes while you relax. Right.
Have you heard anything about the boosters being available anywhere? Like I heard that the Pfizer one is available at Walgreens, and then I heard that Moderna is available at Publix. Have you guys heard anything about that?
Just that they're slowly rolling out the booster that you should. I think they want the high risk individuals to get it first, and the people that have had the single dose, especially, to go and get it. But I think it's important. I mean, you need boosters for so many other things. They're always, you know, adopting these things. And I think with how fast it's mutating, you know, you're better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm in line.
All right. So,
well, thank you so much, Carly.
Our opinion would be get vaccinated and wear your damn mask. It's not that hard, people. It doesn't take rocket scientists. Come on.
Or clinical research coordinators.
Exactly.
Yes. So thank you so much. And I guess the next time we hear, we'll keep a list of things that we hear on Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila, and we'll have to ask our resident expert.
Yes. Let me know. I love talking about it. So.
All right. Thanks so much, Carly. It's good seeing you.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Wow. So I feel like educated now.
Yeah, it's nice to have someone you can call that actually knows what's going on and actually does this stuff for a living. And you can say, hey, what about this?
I don't know. Wilbur from Facebook is very entertaining, though.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. And Melinda, it's so nice to see you on Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila.
Too.
And as folks may know or not know, Melinda is our main booker along with Sheila. So I appreciate everything she does for the show. And as soon, I think, as we get a lot more of the 2022 going, we'll get a lot of people on here. But we wouldn't be doing this and wouldn't have these shows if it wasn't for Melinda. So I appreciate everything you do.
Sheila does a lot too. We meet every week and strategize about who we're going to try to get on the show. But I am always open, and if I've had some people reach out to me and say, hey, Melinda, I'd like to be on the show. So if you would like to be on the show, please reach out to me and say, I want to be on the show too.
It's Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila at gmail.com, I think.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone. See you next Monday.
Bye. To Ruth.